As I believe we're all aware, the fencing materials market has been a bit chaotic over the last year and a half. So to try to answer how we got here, where we even are, and when it might get better, I brought on Tony Thornton, who is the executive director of the American Fence Association, to talk about his latest report of the state of the industry for the fence installation industry. Now, this was a pretty long interview. It lasted a little bit over 3 hours, so we actually have cut it down into shorter snippets for each individual segment of the fencing industry. In this last segment, Tony and I discussed transportation. Now, it's one thing to talk about each category and how they've been impacted, but it's an even bigger discussion on how do we get things from point A to point B, and is transportation really a key issue that has affected all the other categories themselves? Guys, as always, if you find this content helpful or educational, go ahead and give it a like. Also, did you know that 94% of the people watching this video right now aren't subscribed? That means there's a pretty good chance that you're not subscribed. Take a quick minute and look right below this video. If that button is red, hit subscribe, and when you do, hit that notification bell so that YouTube lets you know each and every week when we have new content available. All right, with all that being said, let's dig in to this week's segment. This is Joe Everest, the fence expert. My family's been perfecting their way of building fence for over 60 years, 3 generations. While there's more than one way to build a fence, I'm here to share with you our way.
You know, Joe, we've talked about the labor piece and how it affects not only us as contractors, but everybody up the line. That segments us right into what my good friend Jeff Shelburne was talking about earlier, and that's these container prices, because I don't think that we can talk about, you know, the labor without tying it into the challenges that our transportation area is having as well.
Yeah, let's roll right into transportation, because I think you're right. I think those two are linked so closely.
It's too close to separate, I guess I'd say.
I agree.
So, can y'all hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So what Jeff put on the screen earlier was that container costs have skyrocketed. And you made a point earlier in the presentation about imported products especially. And as we know, our industry has imported products.
Sure.
So now an example that I'll give to you is part labor, part container. So you've got a barge that's shipped from overseas that comes in, is trying to get into the port of LA or wherever the case may be, and they have to drop anchor off the coast because they can't get their barge or their boat into port.
Yep.
So why is the port behind? Why is the port delayed in being able to get these boats in, get them unloaded, and get them done? Well, it boils down to it takes 100 people to unload a barge, and they're working with 25.
Sure.
So 25 people are unloading the barge. It's going to take them 4 times as long.
At least, yeah.
So again, I use simple math quite often, but that's the key. Okay, so where a barge would usually get unloaded in a day, is taking 4 days now.
Yeah.
So you've got 500 of these barges sitting there.
Yep.
You know, not only is our market suffering from that, but I want you to think about, and this was an example that was given to me, think about the agricultural market, fruits, vegetables, and other things that are being imported into our country.
Sure.
They're setting off the coast for 3 to 4 weeks, and they're having to just throw it away because they can't get it in to get it unloaded.
Yeah, it's rotted by the time it gets in.
What's that going to do? It's going to drive prices up on all that stuff.
Yep.
So that's relevant. And where a container used to cost, $1,500 to $2,000 to get from a boat to a train to a depot to where it can be put on a truck and get to your place, okay, one container all the way, those containers are falling into bid wars now of $10,000 and $12,000 cost in order to do it.
Yeah.
Their attitude, the container world was of the attitude, well, if you want it, tell me how much you're willing to pay.
You'll pay. Yeah.
And that's basically where we're at. So you add on the additional cost for labor or lack of labor, on the manufacturing end, the production end, to the wholesale end. For it to get to that wholesaler, to get to you, okay, they've got to they got to figure in this container cost.
Yeah.
And that's in every segment of everything that we're doing. Okay. Now,
yeah.
Not only is the container issues a big deal for the imported products, but let's talk about what one of our listeners said earlier about the Pacific Northwest mills having stockpiles of lumber.
Yep.
Almost 6 ready to go. They're challenged with the same thing. Okay. They don't have transportation. They don't have 18-wheeler trucks because, they got 100 trucks on their lot to be able to drive. They only got 25 drivers.
Yep.
Okay. So it's all a domino effect. It's all one thing on top of the other. And then once it goes from the truck, it goes to the train. Well, the train people have the same challenges. And people put it on the trains. It's all a labor issue. Everything that we talked about today is labor sensitive.
Yes.
In the story.
Agreed.
And until we as a country decides, okay, enough's enough, get everybody back to work, a lot of this stuff's not going to clean up. A lot of this stuff is not going to give us any light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon.
Yep.
Now, again, I'm certainly not an economist. I'm certainly not trying to go down any political viewpoint.
Sure.
I'm talking common sense, okay?
Right.
The common sense is if we don't have the manpower to do everything that we need for the fencing industry to get this product, to the yard, to where our contractors still challenged to get an employee to go install it, that's wishful thinking to get back to that anytime soon. It's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
So the transportation issue is the second biggest piece, in my opinion, behind labor that's causing all of these other pieces that goes on.
Yeah.
So to kind of wrap up those two pieces, you got the raw material shortages, and then you got the production and delivery challenges, which basically equals a price increase. I mean, those are the four pieces, right?
Yep.
And we just have to deal with it. We have to understand it. And I told you earlier today that I got a good friend that's been doing the wood market for 70 years. He said, Tony, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
He said, hopefully we'll never see it again. But I also got a good friend that said that he's been doing, the wholesale distribution supply for over 40 years. And he made the same comment to me, Tony, I've never seen anything like this. It's put more stress, more challenges, more headaches on our industry than we've ever seen in our lifetime. And I'm a 40-year veteran. Okay, I've never seen it. I lived 2000. I lived 2007, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
I get it. But at the end of the day, a lot of our new contractors are having more challenges and saying, wow, what did I even do this for than ever before? So, that's kind of the big snapshot, in my opinion.
Yep.
Again, I'm not an economist. I'm certainly, not that guy that you can go to the bank on. But this is information that I'm getting from a lot of good peers in the industry that are giving me good data in order to keep our industry up to date. Because without this, you're going to be asking those questions. And unfortunately, we can't get this to everybody. But those that listen, those that take the time to invest in listening to these videos and these YouTube segments, they're going to learn something that's going to help them. And I'm going to end this statement with what we started with, Joe. What we're talking about today will be different on Monday.
Yeah.
We're talking about that 10,000 foot piece.
Yeah, this is accurate as of today.
And I asked you. I know my friend Jeff was saying it earlier, and Josh chimed in there as well on these containers, these transportation challenges.
Yeah.
But are you and others seeing some of the same things?
Yeah, we are. And that's the thing is the container issue. It's a big one. It really is. So again, let's talk about the main manufacturer of containers, China. And you have some others, but if you look at the main production of containers in the world, China has the lion's share of it. And China, good, bad, or indifferent, China's priority is China. So if there is a shortage of these things, they will keep them in front of themselves first, and then they will give them out to everyone else. And that just means that drives the cost up. If less of these things are available, then they will cost more. Again, supply and demand, right? So there's less of them available. There's also been, this year there's been 2 container ships capsized, which means 30,000 of these things per ship go to the bottom of the ocean. So one of them was too deep to try to recover. The other one is recoverable. So the last I heard, now this is a couple weeks old, but they had just started the recovery efforts. Not when the crazy thing is, not to get the stuff inside the containers. They wanted those containers back.
The containers are the most expensive piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, they said, hey, insurance will write off the rest of like whatever's inside. We need those containers. We need them back on the market today.
Yeah,
that's nuts. That is absolutely crazy. So yeah, containers is, when we're talking about imports, containers is the thing. So another component of this import is also clearing customs. Again, it's a labor issue. There's less customs enforcement officers available to clear these containers, and more containers coming through the ports than are typical. So they would need a larger number of officers just to begin with to deal with the current levels that they have. But they not only don't have more, they have less than they should be using. So
yeah.
In my experience, my experience is based on buying shark hinges from Forney Fence out of Texas. I talked to Chris down there probably weekly saying, hey, when can I get more hinges? I need more hinges. And he says, Joe, they're sitting in a container in a ship outside the harbor. They're waiting to come in, or we've got 3 containers on the dock right now that are just waiting to clear customs. And so that's just one more layer of complexity to this, that, yes, there's a labor shortage on unloading the ship, but even once it gets unloaded, there's a labor shortage to clear these things. Yep, we lost you again on video. But
yeah, I got you here on the phone.
Yeah, there's a labor shortage in general, and I think that's really the gist of this whole discussion is it really evolves around labor.
It really does. Again, every piece that we've talked about, from every discipline all the way through the whole process, it is labor.
Agreed. Agreed.
There's nothing that we can do about it. Nobody wants to hear it, but it's relative. And I think we, as professionals in the industry, need to make our contractors aware of.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, we're going to see a crash. We're going to see an economic downturn. And, I did a lot of research on, economic downturns, or what would be called an economic decline, a couple of weeks ago, just to kind of keep myself primed up and educated on this. Again, I've lived through 2000, 2007, 8, 9, and 10. But the 3 main components of that is when you see your unemployment spiking, which we know we have, okay? Yeah. Oil prices going out of ceiling, which is happening, okay? And your government spending is at an all-time high and continues to grow. Those are the 3 pieces that are going to define your economic decline. Yeah. And when you see interest rates going up, which we have continued inflation going up, we are going to see a crash sometime soon. Now, sure. I can't say 6 months or 2 years or 3 years from now, but I'm just telling you, again, I'm not an economist, but everything I read, everything that I research, and the people that I talk to that's a lot smarter than me when it comes to the economic aspect of this industry, that's lived through these type of things in our fencing industry, it's coming.
Yeah.
My point there to every professional fence guy out there, yourself and everybody else, is position yourself and prepare yourself for when that happens. I can't give you that light at the end of the tunnel time frame. I'm just saying It's inevitable. It's coming. We cannot sustain what we're doing right now as a country and not see a crash sooner or later. And, even though we as an industry are so resilient, we're not, it's going to impact us too.
Yeah. Well, it can't not affect us. It's absolutely going to hit us hard. And economists have been saying this for a while. We're, depending on who you talk to, 11, 12 years into a really good economy, a strong growing economy. There has to be a pullback. And so now the economists are saying, hey, guys, this could be it. Like this, we could be leading up to that. the thing with the unemployment rate being at all-time high, there needs to be some sort of that's not real, right? There needs to be some sort of number, an unemployment number that is based in reality. Because to your point, I mean, you drive through town and you see help wanted signs everywhere. I mean, every store is looking for help. Everyone is. So that clashes directly with these reports you see that say unemployment are at all-time high. It's like, wait a minute. They know they're I mean, yeah, they are. So I guess, yes. So technically, yes, unemployment is. But we have businesses out here that would love to hire this workforce that is currently not working. And so what's going to happen? What I see happening is labor costs are going to go are the next thing to spike, right? So where at Ozark Fence, one guy's experience where we would have started someone in the $12 to $14 range with no experience. We're going to train you. Just come work for us. 12 to 14. Now we're in the $17 to $20 range. Yeah, just to come to work. So it makes me laugh. So I drove past McDonald's this morning that had again a help wanted starting at $11 an hour. Like, well, you are so out of luck because it's just not going to happen. So that's what I think is going to happen is these businesses are going to realize $11 an hour is not realistic. We're going to have to pay 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever the number is to bring this workforce back. And then therefore the cost of whatever widget you're making has to go up. Our price of fence is based on the cost of materials, the cost of labor, the cost of overhead. Right. When you start moving those numbers, you got to move your price. You have to.
Now, guys, as I said in the beginning, this is a multi-part series. We took about a 3-hour live interview and cut it into separate snippets and categories for different styles of fence. If you haven't watched the other videos, be sure to watch them now. And also, if you found this content helpful or educational, please consider giving a like. It really helps our channel, and it's absolutely free on your end. But for now, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And we'll see you next time.